What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So we got another episode of This Week in Warframe with the entire weekly reset. Basically, what to expect as a Warframe player this week. Not a ton to expect this week, but we do have some great loot for you to pick up if you are someone just signing in and playing this week. So, if you enjoy these types of videos, make sure you stop at the live stream channel where we record this live on stream, and we'll do the weekly reset stuff as well after this video goes up. So come on, stop by. Alright, your first great item for loot is going to be at Teshin. It's an Umbra Forma for 150 Steel Essence. This is available for 1 week, and it shows up like once every couple of months. So if you want to get a Umbra Forma, just like the one you get in the Nightwave, go ahead and grab this. It is a blueprint technically, so you need to build it with a fully built Forma and some Kuva and stuff. But yeah, worth picking up if you want to do an Umbra build on a weapon, a melee weapon, or a frame. And you got your typical Kuva and relics down here. But yeah, as far as weekly reset news stuff this week, guys, there is going to be Borrow here on Friday, which is, typical. Every other week, Borrow shows up. But also, there's going to be some really good Incarnons this week, too. So beyond that, you're going to be looking for the week after that for the new dev stream, and hopefully the new update and stuff soon afterwards. The next dev stream's on the 27th, and that's not this week. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Alright, let's go check out these Dormazone vendor items now that we are getting those Verglass ribbons and a Orokin Catalyst last week. This has been a pretty decent vendor recently.
Is it?
Looks like they can't really keep up the pace, though. We've got a Shotgun Ribbon as one of the go-to items here for 15 Pathos Clamps. If you want a Shotgun Ribbon, that's an easy way to get it, at least. 5k Kuva for 10 Pathos Clamps. Secondary Archon Adapter for 25 Pathos Clamps. One of the most expensive Pathos Clamps items. Primary Archon Adapter, also 25 Pathos Clamps. Forma Blueprint, and that's going to be used Dormazone wares. So not the best stuff this week, but if you do want a Shotgun Ribbon, there you go.
Something at the bottom of it all.
As far as the new update and DE discussing it, the hotfixes are paused until the new update comes out, and they're not going to even talk about the update's release date until September 27th, so you can see how long it's going to be waiting-wise for a new Warframe update. So any glitches you have to deal with right now, guys, will be in the game for another month, so keep that in mind. But yeah, there's still plenty to do. Let's see if the EDA is going to be showing us any kind of good loot challenges here, but I highly doubt it. Last week's Mirror Defense was definitely a big nightmare for some people out there. We actually did end up failing it because we were just not really paying attention. Alright, so if you want to access this, it's going to require rank 5 with the Kavia Syndicate. And then you'll have access on a weekly basis. So let's see what we got. Looks like Alchemy has returned, surprising literally no one on Earth.
We must conquer.
Now let's see what we got here for the Archimedea. So with the first mission, Alchemy, your modifiers will be Alchemic Invulnerability. The enemies are going to be impervious to everything, basically, unless you shoot them with the proper element that is above their head. 10% of enemies will have this invulnerability. You can also throw the amphor at them that's the proper element above their heads. You can't just shoot them with a toxin gun if they have a toxin icon above their head. You have to throw the toxin grenade at them to make them manageable. So they'll just be basically... There's just going to be a bunch of immune enemies, basically. So just expect there to be immune enemies walking around. Maybe bring a CC frame or something to make the immune enemies not able to do anything, really. Next modifier, Hostile Regeneration. Enemies will slowly regenerate health. Don't worry, that's basically a free modifier because all these enemies will be immune anyway. And the another annoying modifier here is going to be Explosive Potential. Rupturing Fragments replace Shuffling Fragments. That's the one that ruined a lot of people's Mirror Defense last week. Making these enemies that do about 5,000 damage explosions, the arms will explode on death. So be really careful about that. But there's nothing to really keep alive here, so it shouldn't be as bad as last week's Mirror Defense, where that was a really bad modifier for that mission. Next mission, Survival. It's going to be pretty straightforward, but the unfortunate thing here is that it's going to be hostile support. Life support towers is disabled. The Necromechs spawning every 90 seconds will drop life support. Instead, when killed, so that's your life support, you'll be fighting mechs constantly. So if you activate the Summoning Mech button in the mission, it will give you another mech. So you'll be fighting multiple mechs at the same time. So keep that in mind. You might want to be bringing some stuff that can take care of mechs, en masse. Elite on-call crew members. I don't see any gear embargo this week. Elite on-call crew members, whatever you like to use on mechs, just be ready to fight multiple of them at the same time, potentially. Second modifier, Bold Venture. Enemies deal less damage and take more damage, but also gain increased movement speed, attack speed, and fire rate. With all those mechs, I'm pretty sure this affects the mechs too, so you have lots of quickly moving mechs all over the place. So, interesting one. This should be fun, at least. I don't know if it'll be very fun, but we'll see. Or I think it'll be fun. I don't know if it'll be very difficult, but we'll see about that. And the last modifier, Commanding Culverins. Rogue Culverins equip weapons that deal increased damage to Overguard. So if you have Dante, it means you'll be recasting your Overguard abilities a lot more often, but still, Dante is still insanely good for this. Just make sure you cast your Triumph ability for Overguard regeneration. That does go for the Dante Spectre as well. And the final modifier, nice little freebie at the end here for your easy Tau Shards. Exterminate. With the mission modifiers, Fissure Cascade enemies will level up throughout the mission with these Fissure Cascades in the mission. 1 level every 10 seconds. Destroy the Cascades to make them stop leveling up. Hardly matters because you're going to beat this mission pretty quickly because it's just an Exterminate. Bolster Belligerence. This might make it take a little bit longer, actually. All enemies have Overguard equal to 50% of their maximum health. So abilities that are going to CC and stun enemies will not work when their Overguard's up. So just bring big damage, hopefully, just to blast through them. I see I have the Ocucore. That should be pretty decent for this. And for your last modifier, everyone's favorite modifier, Vampiric Liminus in an Exterminate. Slow-moving Immortal Duviri Liminus will chase you around and drain your health and energy if you get too close. So just be aware of that. They can move pretty fast. Like, they pretty much move as fast as a bullet jump sometimes. So CC abilities like Gloom and stuff like that should slow them down, and you're not going to be constantly getting drained. But just be aware of it. There's going to be these like Vampire Cloud things chasing you around, draining a lot of your health and energy. So Overguard can also be great there as well. And as far as your individual modifiers, you can choose to turn these on or off. These are only affect you. You've got Knife Step Syndrome. Lose 2 health while moving, but jumping will pause the effect. Not too bad, especially if you have Overguard. Again, like I said, Dante is really the carry here. He can do most of this stuff like no problem at all. Ammo Deficit. Ammo restored by drops and gear is reduced by 75%. Okay, so hopefully you got like a Mesa or something for infinite ammo, because you're going to be having to deal with less ammo. Lethargic Shields is one of my least favorite modifiers. It makes your shield regeneration much slower, by 500%. So you don't want to be having to deal with that. Quick shield restore abilities like Harrow's Chains and shield restore pads and stuff like that are great here. Even Mag's abilities for instant shield restore can be great, as your normal shield regeneration, you cannot really depend on that as much. And then another annoying modifier, Powerless. All abilities are disabled until the squad kills 50 enemies. This works for crew members as well. You just throw on your crew member, it will get 50 kills for you, and it's like the modifier doesn't even exist. So, not too bad of an EDA this week. The survival sounds kind of funny, so I'm looking forward to that one, to have like, maybe 2 or 3 mechs on the street at the same time. So, hopefully you guys have a fun time with that EDA. Good luck at those Tau Shards. Let's move over to Bird 3. This is another thing that requires rank 5 of the Kavia Syndicate. You get a once per week shard from Bird 3. Alright, so we got the Azure Archon Shard, Blue Archon Shard from Bird 3. And reminder too, you get some rep for beating the EDA, and you get rep for beating the Netrocells as well. You can get 30,000 rep very easily just by doing your weeklies here. Pretty much just a free Tau Shard. It's no longer at call anymore. Alright, so we've gotten past the EDA weeklies. Now let's talk about the big guns. We have some of the best Incarnons in the game available this week. And if you don't have them, or you only have a couple of these, you're going to want to get the rest of them you don't have. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Archon Hunt before we get to that, though, because it is the Owl is back. Owl was gone for a while, but the Owl is back. As far as the mission types, you got Exterminate, Interception, and the final boss showdown for the Archon Hunt. Should be a pretty straightforward Archon Hunt, and I have a very high drop rate for that Tau Shard, too. So the blue Archon Shard at that boss. Let's go over the Duviri stuff here. So for your normal circuit, you got Mesa, Chroma, and Atlas. These are all not the most fun frames to farm, to be honest. As far as Atlas comes from a Railjack boss fight and quest. Chroma comes from a quest and multiple different frame parts being put together. I think it's like Saren, Volt, and Ember or something like that, maybe even Frost. So you have to farm different plant for him. And Mesa comes from Infested LV, which I believe requires a key still to this day, which requires Infested LV coordinates. So they're all terrible to farm, honestly, but I'd say if I had to choose one of these, I'd probably end up going for Mesa here, because, LV infested keys are pretty annoying to get. And, yeah, Atlas, Atlas is probably the easiest of these to get. It's an annoying Archwing boss fight, but pretty straightforward, in which you get like a halfway decent build. Chroma requires you to farm multiple different bosses and different plants to get specific parts. And Mesa, it's the same boss over and over again, but the boss fight, you can only farm him limited times, you have to farm another key, so I'd probably say go for Mesa this week. Not to mention her Helminth is quite good as well. So yeah, and also run to 2, if you do pick a frame for the normal circuit, you get a random augment as one of the rank up rewards. So I got Mesa's Waltz here, for example. It could have been a different Mesa augment technically as well. But yeah, guys, those are all pretty decent choices for the circuit. But we got some really good choice for the Steel Path circuit this week as far as the Incarnons. But before we get into it, You know, we got some Kuva and Ribbons over here. If you haven't played in a while, you can choose this stuff instead if you have high enough intrinsics, if you don't want any of these Incarnons, but still want to play Steel Path Circuit. As far as the best Incarnons this week, they're all really, really good. But let's just do a full review of each of these in depth. So we've got the Torrid Incarnon, the Dual Toxicist Incarnon, the Dual Ichor Incarnon, the Miter Incarnon, and the Atomos Incarnon. As far as what each of these do, the Torrid Incarnon is one of the only Incarnon weapons in the game that can build Incarnon ammo charge off of body shots. Just direct hits with this thing in the non-Incarnon form give you Incarnon ammo, which lets you use an extremely powerful chaining toxin beam that has very good range too and very, very high stats. Once you get this thing fully leveled up, you can put things like increased crit chance or increased hybrid stats on it that makes you able to like instantly shred through maximum level enemies. As far as builds, you could do Corrosive Cold, Corrosive Blast, Corrosive Heat. You could do Viral Hunter Munitions if you wanted to. You could, there's plenty of things you could do. You could even try a Blast Toxin build if you wanted to. This thing is very versatile. As long as the build involves Toxin, it's very versatile and very, very strong. Red crits like crazy. You get a ribbon for it. It's got so much crit chance, so much crit damage, and good status chance too. And it chains to multiple enemies. A top tier weapon for sure. If you don't have it already, you might want to get this one. So, great option on there for the Torrid Incarnon. Number 2. A little bit more aiming required on this one, but still extremely high damage. The Dual Toxicist Incarnon is a pistol that is going to be, in the Incarnon form, it will ricochet between enemies and will have increased, it gets increased fire rate on headshot. It's a pretty complex weapon, actually. But basically, it becomes AoE chaining when it goes to Incarnon form, but it does require headshots to get that Incarnon ammo. But this is one of the best pistols in the game, probably actually the best, like top 3 easily. And as far as how strong this thing can be, when fully modded, it will kill a maximum level overguarded enemy in actually 1 bullet, guys. So one bullet, and it's full auto and has a ton of ammo too. So it is really strong. You want to get this thing for sure. And as far as the best Incarnon perks, Commodore's Fortune gives you increased crit chance, makes this thing very reliable with crits. But the thing about the Dual Toxicist in general, this weapon, even without the Incarnon, gives you increased fire rate and also built-in toxin damage on headshot, just headshot hit. So really, really strong. Basically getting free mods thrown in there just for getting headshots, and it's an Incarnon too. So very powerful. Easily one of the best choices this week. The Dual Ichor Incarnon, one of the best melee Incarnons in the game, actually. But sadly for the Dual Ichor, it has some seriously fierce competition this week because of all these other really good Incarnons. So this is a melee Incarnon that once you hit the 6x melee combo multiplier, you can have the attack to transform it into the Incarnon form. In the Incarnon form, on kill, it will create a toxin cloud in an AoE that will go off of each kill. And also, that toxin cloud can be modded by your elements on your weapon. So if I have a viral build on my weapon, it will become a viral toxin cloud that will proc viral. It can proc heat. If I had viral heat, it'd be proccing viral and heat. Corrosive, all that kind of stuff. So really unique effect here. And it used to be really, really strong. It is still really strong for like killing enemies, but it used to be really crazy with melee influence because that cloud would proc melee influence and it would just chain across the map. It no longer does that, but it is still really strong for killing like a Thrax or something like that. I can't recommend it as highly as it used to be, but still some of the best dual swords in the game. Built-in, I think that's built-in toxin. It's also highly slash-weighted too, so pretty good stuff there. Unfortunately, no crit chance increase on the Incarnon perks, just status chance increase, but still really good on this thing for hitting enemies really hard. Very powerful with Varuna as well, which like most melees. The Miter Incarnon, definitely really, really hard hitting, but this one's a little bit clunky to some people. It is going to be requiring headshots, just like the Dual Toxicist, and once you get a headshot with this Saw Blade Launcher, the Incarnon form will become a bouncing fire Saw Blade Launcher that has homing as well. So the homing can be a blessing and a curse. It will home in on the middle of the character model, so that means it's not going to be really going for headshots. You can sometimes kind of angle it to get headshots, but it's mainly going to be an AoE body shot weapon. With how much crit this thing can have, though, with the top tier Incarnon perks, it can one-shot Acolytes really easily. So, pretty fun stuff there. If you want a Saw Blade Launcher with really hard-hitting crit stats, this thing's great. It also has an augment called Nullifying Justice that will make it 90% chance to destroy a nullifier bubble instantly on hit. So it's going to be a utility weapon or a DPS weapon, or maybe a little bit in between. That's what I usually do. I'll have the anti-nullifier augment. I'll also have a DPS weapon or DPS built on there, so it can really hit an Acolyte hard. Not every mod slot's fully for damage, but I have that big utility of being able to not have to worry about nullifier bubbles at all. So very versatile weapon. But yeah, the fact that it's a gigantic Saw Blade Launcher, it's going to be a clunky weapon just the way this is. So keep in mind, it is a little bit clunky, but Really powerful at the end of the day. One of the weaknesses of this, and why I won't recommend it as highly as some of these other ones, the weakness of this, it has 20 Incarnon ammo, unfortunately. So you get all these really hard-hitting saw blades, and then you go to Incarnon form, and you're in the Incarnon form for like, it feels like 5 seconds, if that. So one of the major weaknesses of the Miter Incarnon. For the Atomos Incarnon, it's got the pretty much the exact opposite situation of the Miter Incarnon. This thing's going to be having not enough... It's going to have a harder time building Incarnon charge because of how good it already is. So you got a chaining fire beam pistol normally, but the Incarnon form on this thing makes it have higher stats, and also makes the fire pistol turn into a grenade launcher that has very high crit stats. You want to one-shot them Acolytes? These 2 weapons right here are going to be great options. So for the top tier Incarnons, you get a bunch of extra crit chance. Also, some of the not top tier Incarnons, the like Evo 3s, increased beam range on a beam pistol is very good. So if you were like, a newer player, you start off with the Atomos normal, and you held on to it until end game, congratulations, your beginner level pistol is now an end game level pistol. So yeah, really strong stuff. I love the Atomos Incarnon. The issue is that since it chains the nearby enemies, when it chains the nearby enemies in the beam mode, it does not chain to their heads, so they're going to just die to non-headshot damage and not give you an Incarnon ammo. So be aware of that. You have to be shooting the main target with with headshots, basically, to get any Incarnon ammo at all on this thing. Alright, so after all that praising of all these great Incarnons, what should I recommend, or what am I going to recommend to you this week? Well, of course, if you've already gotten some of these, don't get 2 of them, but the best stuff in the game is definitely going to be over here, the Tauren Incarnon, the Dual Toxist Incarnon. If you have both of these equipped in your loadout, it's probably unnecessary because they're both so ridiculously strong. This thing can take care of AoE great, this thing can take care of AoE great, they can take care of single target pretty well as well. Dual Tox is probably better for single target than the Tauren Incarnon, but still, they're both really good. Primary slot destruction weapon here, secondary slot destruction weapon right here. If you don't want to get one of these 2, maybe you already have a primary you really like or a secondary you really like, Dual Ichor is definitely still pretty good, guys. But yeah, the fact that it's not as OP with Metal Influence anymore kind of made me stop using it as much. But yeah, they're all going to be good choices. You cannot make a wrong choice this week. But yeah, these are some of the most meta weapons over here. So I'd say go for the Tauren Incarnon, the Dual Toxist Incarnon for your options this week if you want to do some high-level missions. So hope that was helpful to you. Let's go over the Nightwave challenges now. And unfortunately, yeah, we still got like another week or 2 until we get the new augment mod. But I know some players might have a little bit more Nightwave rep than others. I'm not going to say how, but might be a little strat out there for some players. Alright, so going over our weekly challenges, though, we got the first one, Explorer, complete 3 Railjack missions. There's a really low-level Railjack mission, and it's like on Earth or whatever. It's like the one right after free flight, takes you like 20, 30 seconds. Just kill 2 cruise ships. Straightforward on that one. Next challenge, Flawless, another Railjack challenge. Clear a Railjack boarding party without your Warframe taking damage. Now that's a little bit more unique. As far as what I'd recommend on this one, there is an ability called Intruder Stasis on the Railjack that can freeze an entire boarding party right when they spawn in. That will be a pretty much guaranteed way to do this. Additionally, Revenant's Mesmer skin should work, Rhino's Iron skin should work, anything that should prevent damage entirely should work on this. Or just, like instantly stun them, like with Intruder Stasis, like I said. So, yeah, should be pretty straightforward if you have the Intruder Stasis mod. If you don't, just try some kind of cheese strat with like Overguard or something. First Elite Weekly, oh gosh. Day Trader, win 3 waiters in a row without enemy scoring once in the match of the index. So there's plenty of ways you can do this. I'd usually recommend like Limbo's Bubble, one of the places in the game that's still useful. Freeze time on the objective, the enemies will never be able to score. Have a Mesa nearby the bubble or something, just killing them all. But also you can throw on things like Korra Strangled Dome, you can throw on things like Revenant with extremely reliable Mesmer skin. Just make sure the enemies don't score and make sure that it's as easy as possible for you, because you have to do 3 rounds of this. Yeah, have fun with that. The index is not my favorite place, really. Next, Elite Weekly, kill the Exploiter Orb. Uh-oh. I think I'm out of Thermia stuff, so that's not good. So you can actually get taxied to this by people that do have Thermia. But, yeah, go find Deck 13 on Fortuna, and go find that blue-green spider thing. It's a pretty annoying fight. Just be glad you only have to do it once. And go knock it out. This requires the Thermia Fractures event to actually even run this in the first place. So hopefully someone in my chat can let me mooch off some of their Thermia, because I don't have any left. Your permanent weeklies down here are going to be kill 30 Eximus, complete 15 missions, and kill 500 enemies. Those will be here every week for the Nightwave challenges. Alright, so as far as your Nightwave store over here, you got your Evergreen stuff at the top, which is always really nice. And it looks like some returning Solstice skins. So we got the Fulman Solstice skin, which I think was here like a year or 2 ago. The Cycron Solstice skin, which I think I used this one, so a pretty nice skin right here. And we got some pretty good helmets here as well if you're looking for any of these helmets. dual carry Solstice skin as well. Very nice, that dual carry Solstice skin. I believe this is the first time this has ever been in this store, by the way. As far as your augment mods, you got Wild Frenzy for the Mercata, Bursting Mash the Muteless Quanta, and look, you got Bursting Mash the Muteless Quanta. Again, they've had this twice on here, twice in a row. Alright, well, if you want Bursting Mash, you definitely have it available to you. You've also got some pretty good aura mods, it looks like, this week, too. You got Energy Siphon, Enemy Radar, Loot Detector, and EMP Aura. These three right here, Siphon, Radar, and Loot Detector, are very good. EMP Aura is not really used much. And as far as your Conclave augment mods, you've got Shrapnel Round to the Murloc, Recharge Barrier for Volt, Directed Conversion for the Supra, and Ambush Optics for the Rubica. None of those are really super worth it, in my opinion. And that's going to basically be your weekly reset, guys. Yeah, not really a ton going on from this week. Like I said, you got an Umbra Forma, that's great. Umbra Forma is great. It looks like I got some fun invigorations as well, but yeah, just go and enjoy your Sevagoth Prime access. Hopefully you gotten it. Get that Epitaph Prime, that Verglas Prime, have a good time. So if you want to get access to this stuff I'm looking at right now, you need to get rank 5 with the Necrolisk Syndicate and get the Helminth Invigoration segment. You can also buy this for plat if you really wanted to. Yeah, these are random per player per week, and it'll just show a little bit of fun here at the end for some potential upcoming build videos, maybe. Alright, so we got Hydroid is the first one. Increase secondary critical chance, and also increase parkour velocity. I don't think parkour velocity affects his water wave ability, but the secondary crit chance could be pretty good with like the Ocucore or something like that. So pretty powerful. Hydroid buff. I don't know if the parkour velocity is going to be that useful though. But hey, you know, it's better than nothing. Next one, we got Sevagoth. Okay, this one's good. Sevagoth secondary damage and increased reload speed. Now, I don't really need to have weapons with Sevagoth, so I guess that part's not as good. But increased secondary damage, that's going to work on the Epitaph. That's going to work on, you know, anything I use in the pistol slot. And reload speed for any weapon, that's a pretty nice little universal buff of all reload speed. I prefer to have range for more nuking or strength for more nuking, but I'll take any Sevagoth Invigoration at this point because I have been playing a lot of Sevagoth Prime. And do we even bother looking at the last one? I guess we should. The last one's going to be for Yareli, and it's an extremely useless one for Yareli because her buff, I heard, only works on pistols, but yeah, increased melee critical chance and increased heal rate on Yareli. So if you're meleeing on her K-Drive, I guess, like, okay, so no need to even talk about that one anymore. I will see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Appreciate your support, and yeah, come on, stop the live stream if you have not already. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.